and how to stop worrying and start living. ஒரு அருமையான புத்தகம். Find yourself and be yourself. Remember there is no one else on earth like you. For good working habits that will help prevent fatigue and worry. What makes you tired and what you can do about it. How to banish the boredom that produces fatigue, worry and resentment. Would you take $1,000,000 for what you have? Remember that no one ever kicks a dead dog. Do this and criticism can't hurt you. Part 2. If you want to gather honey, don't hick over the beehive. The big secret of dealing with people. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Do this and you will be welcome anywhere. How to make people like you instantly. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. The high road to reason. The secret of Socrates. How to get cooperation. An appeal that everybody likes. 4. Ways to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. How to criticize and not be hated for it. Talk about your own mistakes first. No one likes to take orders. Let the other person save face. Yeah, the very interesting books. Definitely everyone read this book. Did you ever stop to think that most of us spend the greater part of our lives on the job? Whatever that job may be, this means that our attitude toward our job can determine whether our days are filled with excitement and sense of fulfillment that comes from top performance, or with frustration, boredom, and fatigue. Dale Carnegie training is designed to help you get the most out of your working day in terms of job satisfaction by getting the most out of yourself all the time. As you study these pages, evaluate your own approach to life and people, then start to build on your strengths and discover how many talents and ability you actually have that you didn't even know you had, and how much fun it is you to use these abilities. This book is a collection of chapters selected from the revised edition of Dale Carnegie to bestseller How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Yeah, we have selected those portions of each book most relevant to people like yourself. You want more fulfillment in your life? Yeah, a sense of harmony and purpose. A feeling that you are making the best use of inner resources. And this book will help you achieve these aims. Participation in Dale Carnegie training is an adventure in self-discovery, and it could be a turning point in your life. You already possess hidden assets within yourself that can make your life glorious. All you need now is the determination to uncover and use them. Yeah, the chairman of the board, Dale Carnegie and Associate, Dorothy Carnegie. Part 1. 7 Ways to Peace and Happiness. Yeah, Dale Carnegie wrote his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, to show that life is very much what we make it. If you first learn to accept ourselves, seeing the good as clearly as the not so good, and then get busy doing the things necessary to reach our goals, we will be less likely to have either the need or the inclination to lose time and energy worrying. Find yourself and be yourself. Remember, there is no one else on earth like you. Yeah, I have a letter from Mr. Edith Aldred of Mount Airy, North Carolina. As a child, I was extremely sensitive and shy. She says in her letter, I was overweight and my cheeks made me look even fatter than I was. I had an old fashioned mother who thought it was foolish to make clothes look pretty. She always said, wide will wear, while narrow will tear. And she dressed me accordingly. I never went to parties, never had any fun, and when I went to school, I never joined the other children in outside activities or even athletics. I was morbidly shy. I felt I was different from everybody else and entirely undesirable. When I grew up, I married a man who was several years my senior, but I didn't change. My in laws were a poised and self confident family. They were everything I should have been, but simply was not. I tried my best to be like them, but I couldn't. Every attempt they made to draw me out of myself only drew me further into my cell. I became nervous and irritable. I avoided all friends. I got so bad. I even dreaded the sound of the doorbell ringing. I was a failure. I knew it, and I was afraid my husband would find it out. So, whenever we were in public, I tried to be gay and overacted my part. I knew I overacted, and I would be miserable for days afterwards. At last, I became so unhappy that I could see no point in prolonging my existence. I began to think of suicide. What happened to change this unhappy woman's life? Just a change remark. A change remark. Mrs. Aldred continued. Transformed my life. My mother in law was talking one day of how she brought her children up, and she said, no matter what happened, I always insisted on their being themselves. On their being themselves. This remark is what did it. In a flash, I realized I had brought all this misery on myself by trying to fit myself into a pattern to which I did not conform. I changed overnight. I started being myself. I tried to make a study of my own personality. Tried to find out what I was. I studied my strong points. I learned all I could about colors and styles and dressed in a way that I felt was becoming to me. I reached out to make friends. I joined an organization, a small one at first, and was petrified with fright when they put me on a program. But each time I spoke, I gained a little courage. It took a long while, but today I have more happiness than I ever dreamed possible. In rearing my own children, I have always taught them the lesson I had to learn from such bitter experience. No matter what happens, always be yourself. This problem of being unwilling to be yourself is as old as history. Dr. James Gordon Gill gave and an universal as human life. This problem of being unwilling to be yourself is the hidden spring behind many neuroses and psychosis and complexes. Angelo Patri had written 13 books and thousands of syndicated newspaper articles on the subject of the child training, and he says, nobody is so miserable as he who longs to be somebody and something other than the person he is in body and mind. This craving to be something or not is especially rampant in Hollywood. Sam Wood, one of Hollywood's best known directors, has said the greatest headache he has with aspiring young actors is exactly this problem, to make them be themselves. They all wanted to be second rate Lana Turners or third rate Clark Campbells. The public has already had that flower. Sham keeps telling them now it wants something else. Before he started directly such pictures as Goodbye, Mr. Chips and For Whom That the Bell Dolls. Sam would spend the years in the real estate business developing the sales personalities. He declared that the same principle apply in the business world as in the world of a moving picture. You won't get any more playing the app. You can't be a parrot. Experience has taught me, says Sam Wood, that is safest to drop as quickly as possible people who pretended to be what they aren't. I asked Paul Boyton, then employment director for a major oil company, what is the biggest mistake people make in applying for jobs? He ought to know. He has interviewed more than 60,000 job seekers and he has written a book entirely 6 ways to get a job. He replied, the biggest mistake people make in applying for jobs is not being themselves. Instead of taking their head on and being completely frank, they often try to give you the answers they think you want. But it doesn't work because nobody wants a phony. Nobody ever wants a counterfeit coin. A certain daughter of a streetcar conductor had to learn that lesson the hard way. She longed to be a singer, but her face was her misfortune. She had a large mouth and producing buck teeth. When she first sang in public in a New Jersey nightclub, she tried to pull down her upper lip to cover her teeth. She tried to act glamorous. The results, she made herself ridiculous. She was headed for failure. However, there was a man in his nightclub who heard the girl sing and thought she had talent. See here, he said bluntly, I have been watching your performance and I know what is it you are trying to hide. You are ashamed of your teeth. The girl was embraced, but the man continued, what of it? Is there any particular crime in having buck teeth? Don't try to hide them. Open your mouth and the audience will love you when they see you're not ashamed. Besides, he said shrewdly, those teeth you're trying to hide may make you fortune. Has Dele to his advice and forgot about her teeth. From that time on, she thought only about her audience only. She opened her mouth wide and sang with such a gusto and enjoyment that she became a top star in movies and radio. Other comedians tried to copy her. The re-owned William James was sipping of people who had never found themselves when he declared that the average person develops only 10% of his or her latent mental abilities compared to what we ought to be. He wrote, we are only half awake. We are making use of only a small part of our physical and mental resources, stating the thing broadly. Human individuals thus live within their limits. They possess powers of various sorts which they habitually fail to use. You and I have such abilities. So let's not waste a second worrying. Because you are not like other people. You are something new in the world. You are something new in this world. Never before since the beginning of time has there ever been anybody exactly like you on. Never again throughout all the ages to come will there ever be anybody exactly like you again. The science of genetics inform as that your largely is a result of 23 chromosomes contributed by your father and 23 chromosomes contributed by your mother. Those 46 chromosomes comprises everything that determines what you inherit in each chromosome. There may be, say, Amran, Seinfeld, anywhere from scores to hundreds of genes with a single gene, in some cases able to change the whole life of an individual. Truly, we are. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, even after our mother and father met and mattered. There was only one change in 3,000 billion that the person who is specifically you would be born. In other words, if you order 3 lakh billion brothers and sisters, they might have been different from you. Is all this guesswork? Is all this guesswork? No, it is a scientific fact. If you would like to read more about it, consult Your on Heredity by Amran Seinfeld. Thank you. I can talk with conviction about the subject of being universal because I feel deeply about it. I know what I am talking about. I know from bitter and costly experience to illustrate. When I first came to New York from the cornfields of Missouri, I enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I aspired to be an actor. I had what I thought a brilliant idea, a shortcut to success, an idea so simple, so foolproof that I couldn't understand why thousands of ambitious people hadn't already discovered it. It was this. I would study how the famous actor of that day, John Drew, Walter and Otis Skinner, got their effect. Then I would Hampton and Otis Skinner. Then I would imitate the best point of each one of them and make myself into a shining, triumphant combination of all of them. How silly, how absurd. I had to waste years of my life imitating other people before in penetrated through my thick Missouri skull that I had to be myself and that I wouldn't possibly be anyone else.